Yes, of course, this is surely the the best opportunity that Southgate's had so far. But is this his biggest test then? Because, like you say, I think with Germany, you knew how they were going to play, and you knew they were going to probably stick with that for the bulk of the game. This game, like you say, he has been prone to not reacting quickly enough, and this team in game, in play, will make those changes. So, is this his biggest test?
Well, if I went to see Denmark play against Wales, and Wales played a 4-2-3-1, that's what we expect to see from England. I'll ask you, though, in a few moments if you think they should play with that formation, but that's what they played in their last game, and they blew Ukraine away. And if they are feeling confident, then why would they change things going into this? Because, of course, Denmark will play with the back three. But for the first 15 minutes or so, Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey completely dictated that game. Denmark could barely touch the ball. And what Kasper Hjulmand did was he pushed Andreas Christensen from centre half into holding midfield. In fact, he even readied a holding midfielder to come off the bench and replace him if he wasn't fulfilling the role accurately. But what he did was he completely nullified Aaron Ramsey, and Denmark was suddenly all over Wales. The game completely flipped on its head. Now, if England play that system again and they're on top, we already know Denmark have a plan for it. They can change their system immediately. And it wasn't something they did on the huff. They completely, they knew straight away that if it's not going great, we're going to change to this system. And I think they'll know against England that they'll have a second plan. They'll have a third plan as well for if they're not on top in the game. And they will have no problems, by the way, in completely destroying the match, making it 0-0, taking it to extra time and going to penalties. They have more than the capability to win the game in normal time, but they won't have an issue with taking England 12 rounds. They won't have any issue with that whatsoever, because this is what I mean. When you're an underdog nation, and Denmark fans, forgive me for saying that, but I think they'll understand what I mean. Yeah. You need to have these plans up your sleeve. In England, I think what we've wanted for the last 10, 15 years is a team that would go out, choose their style of play and play teams off the park, dominate them. And England fans will be looking at Gareth Southgate and saying, you should be good enough with the players you've got to go out there and do the same thing to Denmark. Reel it in for a moment. Denmark are more than capable side. One of the things to look out for, of course, England flourished against Ukraine in terms of their set pieces. That was one of their strengths at the last World Cup as well. We finally saw those crosses into the box too. Harry Kane getting on the end of another one. Denmark know very well how to handle those situations. They've got huge defenders, of course, in the shape of Vestergaard and Christensen. They've got Simon Kjær as well, who can handle those balls into the box. They can also deal very, very well with set pieces. And they're a big threat at the other end in terms of their own set pieces. So if England think that's going to be one of their strengths against Denmark, then they really have to relax. But to take you back, James, to that question I said I was going to ask, Gareth Southgate's approach against Denmark. Do you stick with the 4-2-3-1? Or, like me, I'd love to see him do it again. I still feel like this will provide more success for England. The 3-4-3. What would you do?
I agree with you, mate. I totally agree with you. Match them up. I really think we should match them up, and because I think it makes us more defensively solid. I think you saw in the Ukraine game, actually, although we played a 4, Declan Rice dropped in a lot of the time to allow Walker to play higher up the pitch because our aim was to go around them. This is a much better team. And, in terms of matching up Højbjerg and Delaney, and those two have been brilliant in this competition. I just think that's the 1-0 victory that, was a bit tense, but that maybe gets us over the line and stops them from scoring. I think that's always been a concern for us, apart from the Ukraine game, where I think we were like, we're in a good place here. I think we're going to be okay. Let's go for these guys a little bit more, because we knew that they were going to play, 5 in midfield / 5 at the back. Match them up. I completely agree with you, Hugh. I think that's the way to do it. I think we can get in behind, and I think also it's going to be interesting to see who plays on that right-hand side, because as wonderful as Mailer is and has been, I also think there could be a role to play for Sterling on the right-hand side. As brilliant as he's been, I wonder if it might be, because there was something, and maybe I'm reading into this, but there was a moment where Southgate, when we were watching the game, Southgate had Jack Grealish at the end of it. Of course, he didn't bring him on, and he spoke to him, and the camera stayed on him, and he spoke for quite a while there. And I just wondered, is this the game where you play Grealish on the left-hand side, you play Sterling on the right-hand side, and those big centre-backs that Denmark have got, do you look to run at them Is that how you beat them? I really do agree with you. I think we've got to match them up, because I think man for man, we've proven that against Germany, that we were better than them when we did it. We outworked them. We had more energy and strength and all those things. And I think we can do the same against Denmark. I'm getting a bit excited.
Well, I agree with you. Due to the quality of Myler and striker Larsen, the wing backs of Denmark, I don't think you're going to be able to play around them. I don't think those crosses into the box are going to come from, if you like, adjacent to the penalty area. They're going to be crossed from deeper towards your own halfway line, if you like. I don't think you're going to play around Denmark, essentially. So you're going to have to play through them.
Yeah.
Jack Grealish, his creative skills, his ability to carry the ball towards the opposition defence and string those little through balls through, I think that's key. I also think Jadon Sancho could do the same job if he was to start on the right-hand side. But for me, I think he left Jack Grealish there and said, let's have you completely fit and fresh, firing to go against Denmark. Because I think you need to be more creative through the middle. And I think, to be honest, Sterling is the player that will try and stretch the opposition. But in terms of the creativity, although he set up that first goal for Harry Kane, you'd almost see Jadon Sancho and Jack Grealish as maybe the two creative players. But of course, Raheem Sterling has been fantastic in this competition. He'll definitely start, and it gives you a little bit of something different to stretch the opposition. That would be harsh on Jadon Sancho, but it's harsh on so many of the England players that play in those positions, because there's real quality there. And I think that this is the time now that you lean on that quality, because they could easily win you this competition. It's such a tough game to call. I think there is so much quality in this Denmark team. They pass the ball well. They're confident. They're fearless. Nothing seems to get at them. They've got a real team spirit, which I mentioned a little bit earlier on. I think that they have truly a team spirit. They've come together, of course, after the really difficult tragedy that they had in their opening game concerning Christian Eriksen. It's almost feeling like fate is on their side. Huge game for England. So much emotion in the game to deal with from both sides as well. Could be tight, could be tense. Hard to predict. What do you think?
I think Wembley's a massive factor in all of this. I really do. Like, I was there for the England-Germany game, and that was half full, and it's right up there in terms of one of the best atmospheres I've ever been around, because I think we, as England fans, we knew we could do something, and the opportunity to support as much as anything. This isn't a jaded football fan group. So I think that's a massive factor in this. I really do. I think if we match them up, I think we'll just have a little bit too much desire and almost adrenaline pumping with that crowd roaring behind us, as well as the fact that we've got good players. They've got great players as well, and Premier League experience, and that's a big part of this as well. Great balance in their team as well, good experience as well. But I just think we're better. I really do. I think England are better. I think we've got all the advantages we need, and I think we'll do it. I think we'll win. I'd like a 3-0, and then last 5 minutes, Denmark score 1, and then we don't have to kind of take in this record of not conceding a goal yet. That's what I think. That's what I would like. So I'm going to say it: a 3-1 England win with a late goal for Denmark. Hopefully, everyone partying, happy days. That's what I would like. What do you think?
See, England will feel like they're favourites. You do. All the England fans will feel like they've slightly got the edge. I think the players will know that as well. And that's why I think it will almost feel like a bit of a banana peel for England. I mean, firstly, how will they react to going behind? They haven't been behind at all at any point during this competition. And if Denmark can get the first goal, then all of those jitters from the crowd at Wembley start emanating onto the pitch, and it will affect our players, who, of course, be dreading the idea of being knocked out as favourites in the semi-final at home. And that temperament, that idea of comfortability, because basically, when you think about it, other teams that have gone and won this tournament, well, they've been there and done it before. England, they haven't. Even though they've been to a World Cup semi-final, they've always felt like, even during that run, they were the underdogs. They were the ones with something to prove. Now it's like, well, hold on a minute. You're the big dogs and you're playing at home. You haven't conceded a goal so far. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying Denmark will necessarily win the game, but it will be really interesting to see how England react if they go behind in the match. I still think it will be tight. It will be tense. I think England will win it. 2-0, possibly 2-1. Like I say, if Denmark can get on the scoreboard early, can't really see how, because England have defended so well, then that could massively change the outcome of the game. But you've got to, at this point, looking at it on paper, believe that England are going to be good enough at home to win the game.
So a huge shock at the end of this video as 2 Englishmen predict that England will make the final. But what do you guys think? Let us know. Thank you for watching us and joining us during the Euros on ESPN's Football Forecast. From myself, James Allcott, and my good friend Hugh Woozencroft. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.